Hey guys, welcome to our weekly stream. Hope you guys in Book Nation are having a great week. Sorry we couldn't do our stream yesterday. The internet decided to break all of a sudden there right as I was firing up the stream. So sorry about that, but we're going to make up for it today. So as you guys can probably see, I'm here solo right now. Peter is sick and Nick is unavailable at the moment. So I'm going to be doing this stream solo. So let's get this stream a little more interactive than usual. I'll try and get all the comments up on the screen, and let's just have a lot of back and forth this stream, and get all your guys' questions answered, and let you guys know what's up with Book and the direction, and what we all need to do to take this to the next level. So let's get right into it. So I do have a couple things I want to talk about today. Mainly what's happened since our last AMA, some of the recent events, and as well as what's going to be coming up next. But there's something a little bit more important that I need to discuss before we get into all that. And that really comes down to strategy. Fiat hater, what's up, buddy? Price doesn't matter if we hold for gold. Yep, 100%. That's pretty much what I'm about to get into right now. So, strategy with Book. First and foremost, we need to all be on the same page. We need to all be, rowing together. We need to all, we've all seen what Book can do when the price starts to explode. And, this is still the very beginning for Book. I can't stress that enough, right? We are still in the very early stages. Book USD, it's working perfectly. The system completely works. And, essentially, everything is just as bullish for Book as it's always been, right? So this is something where you'd really, the Book believers. Hold on one second. I'm just gonna put this cat away. Figured I'd fix that problem before it gets any worse. Yeah, so cat's agreeing with me. Yeah. We all know where we can bring Book, right? Long term. We know that, we used to say Book to $1. We stopped saying that because, $1 is way lower than the targets that we know that we can hit with Book. So, that's why we're not talking about price targets, but we know where we can get Book. And, we need Book Nation. We need the community to be on board with all the moves that we're making, all the work that we're putting in to, get new KOLs on board, to get new listings everywhere that we can, to get, as much exposure as we can. The best marketing is a good chart, right? We need to all be on the same page. And, we all need to be, essentially for Book believers, you need to be DCAing into Book, and you really don't need to be looking at the chart. Unless you're looking for an exit, which nobody should be doing at this point, there's no reason to really be checking the chart, to be worried when somebody sells. I mean, this stuff is all irrelevant in the grand scheme of things in the long term. And, one of the things I wanted to show you guys is I pulled up, the charts of 4 super popular meme coins that are, at the very top of their game. We got Pepe, we got WIFF, we got SPX 6900, and we got Fartcoin. I don't think anyone can deny that these are some very, very popular memes that, I think these are all over $1 billion right now. Our WIFF is a little bit below. But, this is the daily charts on all these. I want you guys to see some of the ups and downs that these coins have had, right? The ups and downs is a very normal thing for meme coins, right? The way that you win is you hold your bag, right? You can't fumble your bag when, somebody else sells. When somebody else is selling, that's creating an opportunity. If you follow them and sell, you're just selling the bottom of that red candle, right? Like, you really need to just be adding to your position. And again, you really don't need to be looking at the chart, because that's just going to let your emotions come into play, or you're going to, start having crazy thoughts, right? And it's something where you really just need to DCA on a regular schedule, the chart's irrelevant. Like if you actually see, like, so one of the guys that, the guy promoting SPX more than anybody else is that Must Stop Murad, the guy that did that crazy presentation at what was it, Token 2049, I think it was, where he did that whole presentation about meme coins, and like he actively promotes SPX on X, and he actually tells people, even when they post a bullish chart about SPX, he says don't post charts, right? Because believers don't need to see the chart, right? We all know where this is going long term. So again, unless you're looking for an entry or something like that, there's really no need to be checking the chart constantly and talking about who's selling, who's buying. It's none of that really matters, right? Like let the guys that want to exit, let them exit, and we're gonna go to the next leg up without them, right? That's perfectly fine. They'll buy in higher. But when people start to really focus on these red candles and that's all they start talking about, it really creates a negative atmosphere, and that's really the opposite of what you want in the community of a meme coin, right? So the mentality of the community is ultra important, and we need to look at the long term, right? And like I know that people in the Telegram have said, like, we don't want to hear zoom out, we don't want to hear zoom out. Okay, I get all that, but like the truth of the matter is, like, if you overlay any of those charts over the book chart, you'll see why we're saying that, right? Like, like let's throw Pepe on top, right? Like Pepe down 28% while book is up 338% since launch, right? Like, and this is a $4.5 billion meme coin, right? So like in the grand scheme of things, when you zoom out, despite what people might be saying that are looking at a really short time frame on the chart, book is doing great, and it's going to continue to do great. And you guys need to not fumble your bag if you want to have that exposure for when book makes that next leg up. Let's check out these comments. Hit the like button, all smash it and subscribe to get more attention on YouTube algorithm. Yep, definitely. Just did. Thanks for your support. Aaron, I just think out loud, so forgive me. What about airdrop? All those big memes and holders, and airdrop X small amount off book. Yeah, it costs gas fee and transaction, maybe creating a lot of eyes. It's funny that you bring that up. I've had ideas like that in the past. I mean, the cost of doing something like that is basically free. It kind of artificially increases the holder count to do something like that, which some projects do that strategically. But yeah, no, I think we could look into doing something like that. Like for example, looking at like I don't know, like the 10 most popular or highest traded meme coins on BNB chain, and take like the top 50 holders or top 100 holders of each, and send them a little bit of book. And yeah, I mean, like I've even seen on Solana, like where I've gotten like I guess other projects have done something similar to that, and I got tokens for free that were worth 10 cents when I got them, and then I look 6 months later and they're worth $5 or $10, and that's pretty cool. But I never actually bought any tokens that I got a free airdrop for, but I mean, it's definitely made me look at them, so it's probably not the worst idea. But yeah, we'll take that into consideration. See, that's what I like to see though, like a nice productive idea, right? That's just creative ways to try to improve the ecosystem, get more eyes on book, and yeah, I mean, bring on the suggestions. Yep, exactly. Creating eyes, with all respect, only costs gas fee. Yeah, I mean, and gas on BNB is pretty much free, so pretty much costs nothing. Yeah, good suggestion. But yeah, I mean, this is like the main thing I just really want to hammer home here is that when you sell because somebody else sells, all that's doing is it's going to put you in a position, like the guys that were selling on this whole leg down right here, right? Like nobody that sold here did well, right? And it's the exact same thing for if you're selling here, right? We need to be encouraging each other, DCAing, getting more book, use the TWAP tool, pick up some more book. The price doesn't matter, because again, right? People that bought here, if you're looking at a really short time frame on the chart, people that bought up here early on and then the price started moving down, maybe some of them panicked, sold, or I'm sure a lot of them did. Actually, I know a lot of them did. But ultimately, what ended up happening? Well, we got that next leg up. Well, that's going to happen again in the future. Book is not going anywhere. Broader markets are a little bit rough right now, but we all know that this year is almost guaranteed, very likely to be a huge year for crypto markets. So, a strong meme coin like Book, with that crazy utility in Book USD, this is where you want your funds allocated. I got a question here. Hey, what's the TWAP tool? We've discussed this a few times before, but I'll show you real quick. So the TWAP tool, what I'm referring to is like on PancakeSwap, there's a tool where you can basically, instead of just say you want to buy like 10 BNB worth of Book, instead of doing it in one shot, what you can do is you can head over to the TWAP tool and you set up something like, just so you guys see, I do this all the time for large quantities of BNB. But yeah, like all you do is you just put like what you want to input here, and you go to Book. Oops. And you can set if you want to have a limit price, so it only buys at certain prices, or I usually just turn that off. And yeah, it's just as simple as, I want the trades to happen every 15 minutes. And, the minimum that you can do is $100 a trade. So that's like with the slider all the way to the right, it would be 65 trades on $6,500. But I mean, you could also do bigger ones. So you can do it in 10 trades if you want, right? And you could do it every, 2 hours if you want, right? You can do it however you want. And this is just going to essentially just make your trades not like hit the chart in like one huge candle. It's going to, kind of spread it out, and also just kind of, get you an average price over time. So a lot of benefits to using that. But yeah, I mean, I really just can't stress enough that, a good chart is the best marketing. Experienced crypto guys will know that, this is a chart where we're on a pullback, but, we've already made huge legs up, and, it's going to happen again. So this is when smart investors are going to be getting in, and, the last thing that you want to be doing is fumbling your bag at these levels. Really, at any levels, anywhere even remotely close to here, you don't want to be fumbling your bag, right? Like everything that we've always said about Book is still true. Things are as bullish for Book as ever. Things are happening that we, stuff that I'm going to talk about a bit later, like our PancakeSwap tokens getting listed. Like that's something that we did everything that we needed to do for that to happen. And we also got a little bit of luck that made that happen. And we're going to have things like that happen along the way where, we're going to get lucky with some things. Maybe CZ's going to retweet us at some point, or, there's a lot of different things that could happen that can just spike the chart instantly. And you really want to have your exposure, right? And again, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again right now. It doesn't matter if you bought in at 6.5 cents or you bought in at one of the lows before, we really started moving up. It really makes no difference when you bought, because when Book makes that next leg up and, does what we all know it's able to do and it's going to do, your entry price really doesn't matter, right? And if you aren't in profit right now, it's a great time to DCA and to, lower your average, right? Like look at this opportunity. I didn't think we were going to have this opportunity, right, at under 2 cents. So, this is a time that it's not a time to panic. It's not a time to get your your magnifying glass out and start looking at transactions and trying to find a problem where there is no problem. It's the time to, relax, pick up some more Book, and let us do our thing, right? It would be nice to have the shield from world events and everybody not panicking. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy things going on in the broader markets and just, I guess, politically, globally. But, it's all that stuff is out of our control. So, we just try to focus on what we can control. But yeah, there is some crazy stuff going on, and the global or the broader markets have just been super wild this year. We're all expecting the bull market to come, and yeah, we're getting tons of volatility instead. But, I still think that this year is going to be absolutely incredible for crypto. And I think positioning yourself in Book is just about the best place you could position yourself, and especially picking up an entry around these levels here. So moving on, let's talk a little bit more about this. Clearly with the price action that we're seeing right now, Book is going through like a mini reset, I would call it, right? Like we had we had a tremendous move up. I think it was roughly a 25x that we did from, you know, from bottom to top. Yeah, like 29x or so, 28x, which was an incredible move, right? That's a huge move. And, you know, some people started taking profits, which, you know, can be expected. And, you know, it's something where, you know, I was still adding at all these times. And I think that's still the right move to be doing, right? Like we've given you guys all the tools that you need to be able to take profits, or, you know, I know some guys are really concerned about getting their initial out, or, you know, whatever the case may be. We've given you guys the tools to be able to access capital with your book without having to sell. We've given you the tools to be able to easily open a single-sided LP position, right? And there really is no reason to paint red candles on the chart. I mean, obviously sometimes situations come up where somebody needs access to capital immediately and they have no other choice, and it's understandable. But, you know, for all the red candles that we're seeing, I mean, clearly some guys aren't on the same page as the rest of us, right? But again, it's fine. It's crypto. You're able to do whatever you want with your tokens. But, you know, when this thing takes off, you know, guys that exited their position are not going to be happy with those sells. Miyagi says, would be really good to know exactly what your thing is. Create a roadmap of things you're doing. This creates confidence when the community see things being ticked off. Yeah, I mean, I think we've been extremely transparent with what we're up to, and, you know, everything that we've been doing and doing in the future, right? I think that we've done a great job of that. But I mean, yeah, if you guys need more clarity on that, that's something I could try to work up. But again, like I think that we're super transparent compared to other teams. You know, I think sometimes we might even talk too much, right? Like we talk about, oh, the Fire Hustle video is coming, and we give you guys all the details about that. But then when it's a day or two later than we say, then, you know, we just have to answer nonstop questions about that, right? So there's certain things where I think it's better for us to not disclose all these details in advance and just, you know, announce things as we have them, as they're released, right? I think in a lot of regards, that's actually a better plan. But yeah, I'll take that into consideration. You know, and something else I wanted to address is, like, you know, there's been a lot of comments in the Telegram lately about, like, you know, when marketing and when this, when that, and, you know, complaints about the chart. And, you know, and again, I know, like, the response from myself and some of my teammates has been, you know, zoom out, which, you know, I really think is the right answer, but I know it's not, you know, what you guys want to hear. But again, everything's working perfectly fine. And when, you know, there's a reason in crypto we have the saying, don't FUD your own bags, right? And I know that, like, some of you guys asking your questions, you have good intentions. Maybe you're book holders, maybe you're not. But, you know, we really need a positive environment in the community. That's, you know, positivity is contagious, and so is FUD, right? When, you know, we're the ones that are running the project, right? Like, we're the ones that we're able to get the momentum and build what we've built so far. So, you know, all I ask of you guys is to trust us to make the right decisions to have the long-term uptrend continue, right? Like, to have it's a very select few people in the community that are, you know, kind of really stirring the pot and spreading, I'm going to call it FUD and bad information, right? To say that the project needs to be doing X, Y, and Z. Well, no, like, we're doing what we are doing based on years and years of experience, right? I'm getting advised by Bank Teller from Elephant Money. He's got a ton of experience. I've got a ton of experience. You know, we need the community to be confident and positive, and not to be dictating what we should be doing. You know, obviously we're always open to suggestions, right? But, like, the stuff about marketing, like, we've spent a lot of money on marketing, and we're going to continue to spend a lot of money on marketing, but we need to spend that money in the right places, right? I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later in the AMA, but, you know, we've spent a lot of money that didn't get results, right? So we need to do things in a way where we're going to move the needle when we spend money. We can't just spend money because someone in the community tells us to spend money. That's not a smart way to operate a business or to operate a crypto project, right? Maybe an AMA with BT together would be nice to hear. Yeah, that's something that's been brought up in the past, and something I'm definitely open to. And I'll ask Bank Teller if he wants to join for an AMA. I'm sure he will at some point. I know right now he's in ATL Tech Week over in Atlanta, and he's talking about book, and he's getting all kinds of great leads. He's talking to all kinds of huge investors over there, and he's tied up at the moment. But again, he's in the same boat as me, right? Like, just because you don't maybe see everything that we're doing, we're always working in the back to make things better, to find new investors, to improve the user experience, to get more eyes on the project. I mean, we're doing this 24/7, right? Like this is what we do, right? But yeah, I mean, I'd love to have Bank Teller on an AMA here. So let's see if we can make that happen sometime soon. Or maybe BT can bring up DGen Protocol to join us. They have a lot of big investors as well. BT should know, like Black Sheep. Yeah, I'll bring it up with them. DGen Protocol. I think I did an AMA there before for MSS, or I think I was supposed to. I forget, but yeah, I mean, sounds good to me. So, I think I covered most of what I wanted to cover about, just strategy and, generally us all rowing together and, positivity, confidence. And, and again, we're always open to suggestions, but just, they need to be formed as a suggestion, not like book is going down because they're not doing X, Y, and Z, right? That's just negativity, and that's just FUD, really. So let's try to refrain from that. Us all getting on the same page is just going to get us to the promised land that much sooner. And, and of course, not everyone's always going to row together, but when other people do things that really don't make sense, it's just creating opportunity for everybody else. And that's really all that, that's the way that we should all be looking at this, is just as, any red on the chart is opportunity. Nothing more, nothing less. And something I mentioned a second ago is like, we're going through a bit of a mini reset here, which I think is, again, perfectly healthy. We had a 27, 28x run up from the low to the high. It's very normal for these things to happen. And again, let's pull up these other charts, right? Like, look at SPX. Like, this is like, one of the biggest coins on Ethereum, right? It went $1.50. It pulled all the way back to 30 cents. And look where it is now, right? This is very, very, very normal. I can't stress that enough, right? Selling now is like selling the bottom of this dip, right? Doesn't make much sense. It's not what you want to be doing. This is where you want to be adding, not selling. Look at Pepe, look at WIFF, $4. It went down to 33 cents, right? Fartcoin, over 250. It went down to 21 cents, right? $2.50 down to 20 cents. And look, it's probably going to go to new all-time highs this year. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And it's already, up 6x from the low. Right. This is very, very, very normal stuff that happens to the very, very best projects. So don't lose sight of, of where we're going to get, because we're going to get there. We want to get there with the whole community, with Book Nation. We want you guys all on board. But, if you decide to sell here, you're going to miss it. Right. And that's really all there is to it. And 100, tell them about DeFi Llama Coin Gecko, I think you mean there, how bullish it is for us book. Yeah, I'm getting into that next. Yep. Well, thanks, Mike. That is my intro into the next segment here. So that's the next thing I want to talk about, is like just recent events, like recent stuff that we've had happening, and then I'll get into finally we'll talk about what's going to be going on moving forward. And again, guys, remember, I'm doing this stream by myself, so try to throw as many comments at me as you can. I'll try and get them all up on the screen. Gaz says, the market feels doom, but look at the road ahead for us. It will be very good. Yep, no question about it. Also, I wanted to just give you a shout out. You've been really killing it on, in the Telegram and on X and rating. You've been absolutely killing it. So keep up the amazing work. And if 20% of our community was putting in the effort that you're putting in, man, we would already be on the moon. So let's all use Gaz as an example. And do what we can to spread the good word about book. I am the next Peter Nick while they are not here. Yep, loving it, man. Keep the comments coming. All right. So recent events, things that have happened recently. Oh, thank you. I've gone shy now. No, man, it's honestly, I can't say enough good things about, like, no matter what's happening with the price, you're always super positive in the Telegram. You're pumping out those raids. You're giving us new raids to raid. It's, again, it's, this is the way that everybody should be, right? Like, you clearly see the vision, and that, a red candle on the chart is a very temporary thing. It's nothing to be depressed about. It's nothing to go, FUD about. It's, this is the time to share the chart, or time to share book, because this is a great opportunity to enter at this stage, right? And it's nothing more than an opportunity. It's really all that it is. But yeah, thanks again for all your hard work. So let's take a look. So I've got us integrated in DeFi Llama. This was really cool to get integrated here. I had to integrate the protocol. Luckily, we had some liquidity stuff that we were able to kind of look at to get this integrated, and we got all that done. So this is tracking our fees long term. It's tracking our TVL, and yeah, I mean, just being listed here is a huge step in the right direction. I might have dropped a little bit, but I think in terms of protocols on BSC, our TVL is, I mean, it's pretty high up there. There's not. Yes, I think we've dropped down a little bit now, but number 97, even with with the current dip in the price. So, we're going to be climbing up this list rapidly. It's not going to take long for us to be in the top 20, top 30, or top 10 in this list. And I don't think we'll ever beat a PancakeSwap, but we can get pretty close. But yeah, this is huge for us, right? Like, this is, the whales want to see the stats, right? And that's the whole reason I was working on Dune for as long as I was, right? Because the stats are really critical. This is, it lets you see really not only like in depth what's going on right now, but historically what's been happening. So it's, really critical to have all these things in place. What else do we got? We got CoinGecko. We got proper listings going for Book USD Share for Bus. We got proper listing going for Bud, and as well, these all have they have really proper circulating supply and total supply APIs implemented. So this is all updating. So they're getting this data right from like an API that I created that basically gives it up-to-date information about the supply. So that's pretty cool to see that all working properly. For Book itself, again, we had to update the supply data or details, which has been updated. And on top of that, I was just going to talk about how our description was updated, but that looks like the old description. That's really weird. Okay, well, that was updated. I'm not sure how that reverted back, but I'll have to look into that right after the stream. That's one of the things I was going to show you guys. But the other reason why that's weird is because I was going to show you guys that, like, one of the reasons why it's important to have this always up to date is because, CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, they have APIs where other sites and other resources pull data from CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko and use that data that they get to present that information on their site, right? And like, this is one of the examples I want to show you guys is Forbes, right? So like Book of Binance on Forbes, this is what's weird. This actually has the updated description, which I had assumed it had gotten from CoinGecko, but again, for some reason, CoinGecko reverted back to our old description somehow. But yeah, just that's the reason why it's so important to have all those sites, especially CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, always up to date. CoinMarketCap, I'm in the process of updating. It's a bit of a different process. I got to set up this self dashboard thing, and so I've already got the process started on that because, again, CoinMarketCap has our old description, so making sure that gets updated to talk about Book USD and talk about Book and all the latest things going on with Book, since we've evolved quite a bit since we first launched. So yeah, I'll see you after the stream. I'll figure out why this is reverted back, and I'll definitely keep you guys posted in terms of when CoinMarketCap gets the description and supply updated. I've been working on that for like the last week. The other big one is right here. So if I type book while searching for coins, you can see we got book, and we got book USD, which is BUD, and we got book USD share, which is BUS. So this was a combination of doing the right things, but also a little bit of luck to get these listings here. But yeah, I'm super pumped that we it's basically we had the CoinGecko submissions for all 3 tokens completed right before PancakeSwap did a update from like the CoinGecko token list. So a little bit of luck there, but yeah, it's incredible that we have all those tokens listed on PancakeSwap now. So now like people don't need to have the contract address first to buy our token. They don't need to like look at that scary box that says, oh, this is an unknown token, and you have to like check the box to add it. All that's gone. Now we are officially listed on PancakeSwap. So, super easy to buy book, and way less friction for any new buyers to come into book, or to whether they're creating liquidity or they want to just, buy book. It's going to be that much easier, not only book, but also obviously the book USD tokens, right? So I'm super pumped about that. I couldn't believe it when I first saw that, we got all those tokens listed on PancakeSwap, because I figured that was going to be a much longer process to get all that done. So really, really excited about that. And that's been the case for less than a week now. I think it's only been a couple days. And finally, I wanted to show you guys, we have a new ad on Deck Screener. It's something I just randomly got an idea to try something, so I just kind of did it without telling anybody. But I just wanted to try something like super simple, where it's just like, how do we get people to see what they can do with their book, but all within a really, really small amount of text, right? So I tried this. I'm not sure how well it's working so far. It's only been running for like a day or two, I believe. So I'll give this some more time, and we'll let this run out, and I'll gauge the results and see if we run something similar to this again, or if we do something different. But yeah, I mean, it just says book, and it says 1, buy book; 2, use book to borrow BUD stablecoin; 3, swap BUD or earn with it, right? So that was pretty much as short as I could possibly write, the way that you could utilize book and, kind of gain access to capital without, with that book that people buy. So we'll see how that runs. It's been looking all right so far. You are working hard, guys. It will be all worth it. Yep, 100%. But we need the community as well when we can. Yeah, I mean, we all got to just row together, right? It's something where, we all got to just be positive. We should all be DCAing, and we should all refrain from FUDing directly or indirectly. And yeah, we all got to just get on the same page, and that's how we get that next leg up, as soon as possible. It's going to happen, right? But it just, the more positive the community is, and bullish the community is, and participating in raids, and spreading the word, right? Like, when there's so much opportunity on X to comment and reply to somebody's tweet and just to mention book, right? And like, a lot of communities, they have big armies of guys that are doing this, right? Like, we have well over 1,000 holders, way more than that. We've got right now, I think there's just shy of 150 troves open in book USD, but we're only getting like 5-10 guys that are actively participating in our raids. It really is, it takes 2 seconds, right? Like, you see a raid there, you hit quick smash, Twitter opens up, or X opens up, and you just like the post and you put a quick comment in, and you're done, right? And it really does help. It really helps raise awareness for book. I mean, I've found coins on X just because I've seen, like, oh, I'm checking tweets from certain guys that I check out, and then when I see in the comments there's a certain coin mentioned 5 times, and then I see that again on another tweet, and then again on another tweet. I'm not saying I necessarily buy all those coins, but if I see it enough times, I'll probably check it out, right? And it's the exact same thing for book, right? And I don't know if you guys are the same way as me, but that's how I work. And getting that exposure, that's really like one of the best ways for us to grow our audience. So let's move on. Let's have a quick sip of water here. Yeah, so moving on. So marketing going forward. I know a lot of you guys are curious about this, so let's talk about it. So we've experimented with a couple different KOLs, like key opinion leaders, or in other words, influencers, and we've had some mixed results. I'd say, like, for the most part, I'm not really thrilled with the results that we've gotten with some of the existing KOLs that we've tried. So we're trying things a little bit differently now. We're going after bigger KOLs, and we want ones that are going to that absolutely love book, right? Where they want to be posting about book or commenting about book on other major posts. That's really what we're seeking, and we've found some. And basically, like, what we're doing now is we're putting the finishing touches on like an ambassador program, and it's going to be something where we reward the KOL partly based on performance, but partly also based on like them holding on to the token, right? And I'll definitely be happy to drop more details about this once all the details are worked out. But it's gonna involve like paying the KOLs in book, but it's gonna be like a payment system where it's progressively gets higher over time based on results and based on the fact of them like holding their book or like using their book in book USD, like, in other words, not selling their book. So that's how we can make sure that our goals are aligned with the KOL, and it's basically a win-win situation for us, like Book Nation, and for the KOL, because they continue to get more book for free for their efforts, and they benefit the project and get more eyes on the project. So we've got a couple of really big ones that we are basically just putting the finishing touches on this program so that we can kind of pitch this idea to them. And I think that's going to be happening extremely soon. I'd guess by early next week at the very latest. We got some that are focused on BNB chain that are like some of the biggest names that talk, exclusively about BNB chain, and we're going to get them on board, and they're super excited about book, and I'm super excited that they're super excited about book. How did the discussion go with Elijah Boom? Was that the real Elijah? Yeah, that was not the real Elijah. I didn't talk to him for too long because I kind of just said, hey, like, to continue the conversation, like, send me a message on X from your official account. And he just kept making excuses. I said, all right, well, this conversation's over until you send me a message on X from your official account. And that was the end of that. So, but yeah. But yeah, good memory there. Yeah, that guy was definitely a scammer. Where was I? Oh yeah. So yeah, we're just putting the finishing touches on that. I don't know if we're going to call it an ambassador program, but that's essentially what it's going to be. And we're also in talks with some other names on Twitter or on X, huge names, probably ones where we would not put them through the ambassador program, but ones where like they're just so big that we're okay with just paying them just for like, for them to get promotion through them, or to have like to participate in like one of their spaces, stuff like that. So, I'm hesitant to drop any names, but I will mention one that I'm sure everybody here has heard of, and we have not finalized anything. So this is not for sure yet, but we're talking with them and we want to work something out with them, is the Mario Knopfels roundtable, right? So that's a huge one on X, where I've personally seen the results of other projects jumping on there. And yeah, so we are in active discussions with them right now. And again, that's not one that would go through the ambassador program. That would be like a one-time payment type thing. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we are looking for right now. Is, well, for one, we're looking for both, right? We're looking for anything that's going to move the needle is what we're willing to do, right? And we're willing to try almost anything. But in terms of like major spends, we want to go with stuff that we know is going to deliver results. So yeah, that's what we got going on in that regard. So on the dev side of things is the final thing that I'm going to touch base on here. And of course, I'll be happy to answer any questions or comments that you guys got. Scammer never take a day off. Yeah, it's wild, man. Wild how many scammers are out there. Thought as much. Yeah, I mean this guy actually he seemed pretty legit, but as soon as I started asking for the direct message on X, that's when he got exposed. Watch out for the scammers, guys. They know we are a good thing. Yep. So as you guys know, like what I said last week is that we're going to be, shifting gears from building mode to like full promo mode. And that's still like 100% happening. Although at the same time, there are a couple like loose ends I got to tie up. So one of the ones that I'm going to get done, 100% I'm going to get done for today is a change to the bus staking APR display. I know I've been talking about this for a little while, but I've been having some back and forth with Bank Teller about the best way to get this done and like getting the exact query done to get the data right. But what we settled on is essentially showing an earnings per share, right? So like basically to show like, for each bus, this is what the earnings have been. So instead of labeling it as an APR, we're going to show like earnings per share. And we're going to have a chart on Dune that kind of directly shows this. And actually, I guess one that you could look at that would be like comparable would be this guy right here. So this is one that I find pretty interesting. This is gains. Let me zoom in a bit on that. Gains per 1K staked bus. So I'm going to do something like this, but the difference is that it's going to be per one bus, not per 1,000 bus, and it's going to be cumulative, right? So like this is just like showing like, for example, on June 10th, there was like $2.68 worth of rewards for every 1,000 bus. So right now, like 1,000 bus only costs, I think, $60 right now, right? With the current price. So, do the math on that. This is paid over like 5% that one, well, maybe not, like just shy of 5% that one day based on the current price, right? So, yeah, this graph is awesome. But so the earnings per share is going to be, it's going to be like this, but a little bit different, right? So it's going to be cumulative. Just to show you guys an example of something cumulative, like, I don't know, total bud borrowed over time, something like this, right? Like where it just shows the total over time. Yeah. So again, pretty much the same data as here, but just like per one bus and cumulative. And that's the stat that we're going to show on Book USD, because I know some people, they see like, 1,500% APR. And then if they don't, in the next 24-hour period, they don't make, whatever that works out to in a day, they might feel deceived, or they might, it's not the greatest, experience, I guess, right? Like we know how well bus staking pays, anyone that's been in bus staking for any period of time. But when things slow down a little bit, that's when some people that just entered recently, they might think, okay, well, this isn't paying what it says it's paying, so I'm going to withdraw my bus and I'm going to sell them all, right? And that's what we're trying to avoid, right? Because, especially at the current price that we're at, it's crazy cheap bus right now. So, there's no doubt in my mind that the book price is going to pick up soon. And once that happens, more troves are going to get open. People are going to borrow more. And, this chart is going to go literally off the chart in terms of how much it's generating. So we just want to, have that better way to show people, historical earnings per share. And as well, something that I really want to get done is the new UI that I showed you guys last week. That UI, it kind of just breaks, all aspects of Book USD into their own pages. And it gives me more room to display stats. And I think that also would help bus staking quite a bit, because I can show like the historic APR, but I can also show like the APR over the last 24 hours and over the last week and the earnings per share, right? And I can show all this stuff on that new UI, and it's a little bit easier to use as well. So that I'm not going to give any timeline on that. I'm going to just kind of working on that in the background. And, once it's a little closer to being ready, I'll definitely be sharing that with you guys. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. And yeah, good call. I don't think you can provide too much information. More info equals less questions and confusion. Yeah, exactly. My only issue there is that like our current UI doesn't really give me a lot of space to show a ton of stuff. So yeah, that's why, that's one of the couple of reasons I really want to move towards that new UI. Also, it's super beautiful and easy to use. So I think that's you know, and I think as well, like having everything split into different pages, like there's a lot of advantages to that. You know, so for example, like on our Book USD homepage, you know, we have our staking options here. It'd be awesome to have these staking options go right to the actual page related to that stake option, right? So like that bus staking, you press stake now, and it would take you right to the bus staking page of the DApp or the stability pool. And I think that would be optimal. And it kind of lets us like sell the like, it lets us like talk about the different options. Like, so for example, like, you know, stability pool staking, we can talk like some of the stuff that it says here, for example, this can be within the DApp too, but like we don't really have the space to do that at the moment. So I think that'd be beneficial too. Do we have a roadmap to 1 billion or maybe a roadmap to 2029? It would be great to easily see what the long-term plans are, like more info on marketing over the next year, UI updates, extra utility. Yeah, let me talk to Bank Teller and see what we can put together for that. A suggestion, it would be great to have the main book website updated, showing team members with a write-up of their roles, experience, including advisors and ambassadors. Yeah, that's something that we could do. Just think about how we can sell this as a long-term project, not just a meme. Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all I got for you guys today. So as usual, I'll give it a bit more time, see if any other questions or comments roll in. Oh, I guess one other thing is, you know, Bank Teller is the one that's kind of taking the lead on a lot of the rebranding stuff. And, you know, obviously he's away this week promoting book at conferences and events. But I think that we're getting a lot closer to having like all of our stickers ready and, you know, taking that new branding to the next level. And then we can start getting the merch shop ready and all that stuff. I know I'm dying to rock Book Nation gear everywhere I go. And I know that you guys are the same way. So really pumped to get all that going. All right, guys. Well, it seems the comments have dried up. So I'm going to give it another 20 seconds, see if anybody else has anything else to say. And then I'll get back to work. And okay, we got a question coming up. In that case, I'll go refill my coffee. Great AMA. If you ask me, good information. I got all my questions answered. Awesome, man. That's why we do these things. All right, I'll be right back while we get this question typed out. All right, we got a question here. What if book was an up token that only goes up and the entire book ecosystem was backed by collateral that only goes up, just like the token trumpet that only goes up? So I think there's some confusion there in like what it means by only going up, right? Like, so like my understanding of trumpet is that the ratio of trunk to trumpet always goes up, but it doesn't mean that the price always goes up, right? So not really sure how to answer that one. I mean, one thing I will say though is that I do love to build, and I've really got to focus on getting the word out there, and really switching from build mode into promo mode. That's how we're going to get to the next leg up. But I do love to build, and there's so many utilities I've built for projects in the past that I'd love to build for Book. But yeah, I think for right now, what we need is we just need more eyes. So I think that's what I'm going to be focusing on primarily, but definitely always open to be building if the right idea comes across. But again, having said that, we do have something amazing already in place that works perfectly. So I think for right now, we just need more exposure. For the merch, could you accept Book for payments? Maybe take 50% of payments and burn Book. I suggest this before, and you said, how would we pay for the merch? So could it work 50% Book burn? Well, I mean, so when you originally asked this question, so forget about the burn for a second, right? Like just say we have say somebody orders $500 worth of merch, I got to pay $400 for that, right? So essentially, if people are paying with Book, either I got to eat the cost of the merch or I need to sell Book to recoup those costs. So burning half the Book doesn't really help that formula at all, other than the fact that we'd have to have a much higher profit margin on the merch, which would make it way more expensive for the users. But I think the marketing that you get from people wearing merch, or just the fact that people are, they want to be rocking Book merch or Book gear, I think we want to be able to get it to them for as cheap as possible. All right. So, I mean, typically I only mark those things up just enough to make sure it covers the costs, because I'm not trying to make any money off merch sales. I'm just, trying to get Book merch into everybody's hands. I know with Bomb, I did accept Bomb, and I did actually just eat the costs of the merch myself. But it's essentially the way that I've set up the merch store. We'll be able to potentially accept Book in the future. I'm just not sure that we'll do that right out of the gate. Thanks, Aaron, for the AMA. Not an easy thing to do by yourself, so big pat on the back to you, and have a large beer. Got too much work to do for that, but I'll definitely have a beer later on. Thanks for the kind words, man. Appreciate you taking the time to answer this. Hey, man, my pleasure. I'll always answer any questions or suggestions, let you know what I'm thinking. All right, guys, I think that's about it for today. Go Book Nation. Let's all, again, reiterate, let's all row together. Let's all, not focus on the chart. That's not important. What's important is spreading the word about Book, being positive, building your position, and, not fumbling your bag when other people are making poor decisions, right? So as Gaz said, let's all use him as an example, and, his positivity in the chat, his, the way he's pushing Book on X, let's all, do a little bit of that, and, we'll be at new all-time highs before you guys know it. So anyways, guys, enjoy your weekend. Keep spreading the good word about Book, and I'll see you guys all around the community. See you guys soon. Oh, is that a computer behind you? Yeah, that's my it's my second PC. Actually, my son is coming over today. He's going to be playing on that computer. So yeah, that's my other computer, right on the kitchen table. All right, guys. See you guys in the community.